Your pretty smile, digital dial. I hate your every bolt and screw. I don't like anything about you. You're a dirty robot. You're a dirty robot. You're a dirty robot. You're a dirty robot.
So, one positive of not finishing last week, what we set out to do, which was to build an app from scratch. Hopefully we'll get that done tonight. But one benefit of not finishing that completely last week was that we got to hear Dirty Robot again this week. And I love Dirty Robot, the song. I have no personal affinity or hatred towards dirty robots in real life. But the song, I actually am quite partial to the song. And look at this. I didn't even plan this, but this week's title slide has a robot that's cleaning up after the dirty robot. So how is that for fitting? That's very fitting. Hello, my name is John Kulas, 20-year professor of industrial and organizational psychology, 12-year user of R for normal, boring statistical and analytical operations. But for the majority of those 12 years now, for 9 or 10 of those years, I've been mostly wrapping those analyses within a broader document, within a broader context, the communication piece that I hope to embed those analyses within. And so this process is called literate programming. It's sometimes referred to Sorry, I had to look for my mute there for a second. I got my weekly throat check here going on. Sometimes referred to as using this kind of system that is legacy. I call it a legacy system called R Markdown. But it's simply what it is I've been referring to it as single platform project execution. This simply means if you have a broader project, for example, a paper or a presentation, and it has a quantitative component, you don't need a specialized piece of software for the communication piece. You don't need PowerPoint for slides or Google Slides. You don't need that either. You don't need Microsoft Word or Google Docs for a paper. You could execute all of that from within your scripting environment And that's what we do here every week, is we're just here to promote that because I'm a really strong proponent of it. I think it's kind of a core piece of this workflow that recently has been referred to as reproducible research. Reproducible research is kind of this broader principle in terms of how a philosophy on how we should structure things and part of the scientific process. But for me, a key component of that is staying within a single platform to execute your entire project. And that means that what you've specified has a plain text component to it that's easily shared. It's not platform dependent, even though we're using our studio mostly each week. You don't need our studio. You can literally share what we do every week. You can share it in a notepad file. You can share it in any computer software program that conveys plain text. And so we're here each week doing this very, very hot, very sexy topic, plain text specification of things like slides. But I love it, and so we're going to keep doing it. And we're actually on session 140 this week, so that's a lot, actually. When we started this, I don't know what I had in mind. Well, I do know what I had in mind. I had in mind the concept that if anyone is interested in this and they want to ask some questions, we'll have this open live Q&A session available. That hasn't proven to be something that people choose to want to engage with this in that manner, and that's fine. So instead of that, what we've been doing is we've been kind of just looking at featured focused capabilities using these processes that we talk about weekly. And 140 sessions, that's amazing. So we've had a couple of repeats in terms of the previous week bleeding into the next week or subsequent week, but for the most part we've done well over 100 different topics. So I've been learning a lot. Hopefully you, if you've been watching along, have been learning as well. But tonight what we're going to do is a continuation of something that happened last week. And last week I already mentioned it, but we endeavored to, I'm going to try to stop using that word. I think I use it too frequently. Of all the words you could use too frequently, I don't know why, but I use that one. Maybe I'm a NASA fan, if anyone remembers the Space Shuttle Endeavour. Maybe that's it. Anyway, last week we were trying to create an app from scratch, a dashboard, and we kind of ran up against time last week. So I left everything off exactly where it was, and we'll revisit it and we'll see if we can take what we had last week and move it forward and get an actual shareable app that people can use. Okay, so before we do that, every week I'm just going to follow the same structure. Even though last week we didn't really accomplish too much, we're going to follow the same structure and do a brief presentation of what did actually happen last week.
Well, our heroes got awfully close to the missing bank money last time. Close, but not near enough, for Boris Badenov, disguised as a lady moose, made off with a satchel full of swag, leaving our two heroes with an identical valise containing 3 pairs of socks and a peanut butter sandwich.
Well, I only got one thing to say.
What's that?
Halfies on the sandwich.
Little did our friends know that as they munched the sandwich, they were the target of 3 pairs of sinister eyes belonging to the light-fingered 5-2.
Is that the satchel tree thinger?
Yeah, but where's the double-crossing baby face?
These guys must have knocked him off.
Well, let's swipe the suitcase and then blast him.
How about blasting them first and then swiping the suitcase?
Meanwhile, babyface Braunschweiger, alias Boris Badenov, had reached the Frostbite Falls Railroad Station.
Quick, what time leaves the next train for Skinneapolis?
He should be along about 1/2 past.
Good, I'll wait.
You want to buy a ticket?
You sir it, kiddo, and I'll pay for it with this.
Of course. Here you are.
Just a minute, chum. You forgot to give me mine change.
And under the menace of Boris's weapon, the clerk had to hand over the entire receipts for the day.
Yeah, not bad. Here's a tip for crooks and bandits everywhere. Next time, try the train.
So I love Rocky and Bullwinkle for a couple of reasons, but one of the obscure ones is the vocabulary. So I actually thought he said valise. So while he was saying that, I looked it up, and I always thought it had an A in it. So, and I was surprised when he said valise because I thought it was spelled Valaise, and that's apparently just some phantom thing in my head that doesn't really exist in reality. They also said satchel, which is awesome. Like those are two terms that you don't hear anymore. I love the old terms used on that program. All right. So enough about that. So last week we took our first attempt at starting from scratch and building an application, a web-based application from just a cocktail napkin kind of sketch. And what I actually have here is a bit disorganized, but the prompt we used is here in the clipboard enabled section of this particular slide. We decided to go a particular path. There were a few different AI assist options that we considered, and the one that we chose to go with, and we're going to continue with that tonight as long as we don't run out of queries, which is possible. If that happens, we'll just switch to a different strategy. But out of a few different options, we chose GitHub Copilot, and we chose to execute that not from within our scripting environment, but from within GitHub, just to be a little bit different. And we're going to continue with that, I think, tonight. There's so many different options right now in terms of not only what agent you use or what service you use, but also how you interact with it. And I haven't loved the the direct scripting assist that we get from within the RStudio environment with GitHub Copilot, and I've mentioned that before. But I think my end case is, or my use case, I'm me, that is a person. I think I'm a little unique because I'm at this point in my daily work, I'm doing more this stuff. So I'm doing more creating slides and papers and reports than I am really focused on hardcore analytical things. So so for me, when I'm creating a paper or a presentation or a report, the GitHub Copilot recommendations, when they're enabled from within RStudio, which is the IDE that I still currently use most frequently, they just get in the way. So it's not something I find useful, but I think that's because I'm doing more prose writing than actual analytical scripting. So we're trying it from within a different environment, which is GitHub directly. The query that we gave GitHub Copilot is, as I said here, maybe I'll read that for you. I would like to build a Quarto dashboard powered by R that has three primary functions. Number one, the user types an address. Number two, a map displays the address. And number three, data is shown about the address. We left that kind of open-ended. I do have a US Census API key, which I'm kind of regretting mentioning because I think that might be one of the points that we hung up on, but we'll see if we can overcome that tonight. So I do have a US Census API key. By the way, that's available to anyone who requests one. So US Census has data and data tied to geographic regions, and you can request that data. It's publicly available if you want. They want to kind of, I don't know their purpose for this, I guess, but I'm assuming they kind of want to know who's accessing it. They don't ask why. They just maybe want to keep track of how many people. I would assume internally it's good for them to say this many people are interested in what we're doing, and so they do ask that you request an API key, and I have one. I probably have several because I've done this several times. So I do have a US Census API key if we go that route for the address data, but I am open to alternatives. I'm talking too conversationally here with AIs. I need to improve my prompt structure. I know that I'm too equivocal with what I'm saying. And so maybe we could just try this from scratch with kind of slashing off some of the equivocation, but we'll see. So please provide all code necessary to execute this dashboard. And again, the key parts there is we want to use Quarto, this software that we've largely been relying on for the past year or so. And then analytically, I'm more comfortable with R. So when I go in there and later, really what I'm interested in is just the framework of something. And then I'm going to go in there and tweak it to my personal needs after that. Because this is a project, this is the skeleton framework of something that a friend and I have been discussing for a while in terms of just building something, and he thinks that we can build it into something maybe commercial. So as we got our first suggestion from GitHub Copilot, that was a fail. It wasn't a full fail. So the app actually loaded, it just kept cycling. So the app was there, and we got a visual. We had some rendering that took place, but not a full app rendering. And so it looked as though the cycling was looking like it was thinking. It was looking for something. It was maybe having a hard time connecting, and that's one of the reasons I'm thinking that maybe we shouldn't have done the API key. We did have time for 2 or 3 back and forth corrections. Telling GitHub Copilot doesn't seem to work. Unfortunately, we didn't have a direct error or error code or sequence of error feedback kind of elements to feed it, because these AIs are fantastic with that. So if you get a fail in your R console, if you just paste that directly into your interface, they're fantastic at dealing with that. We don't have that, so it's good that we're doing this on these weekly sessions, because it's a bit of a different obstacle. I think it's kind of an unknown error, and so the AI has to overcome that. I have not touched it since last week. All I did right before the session here was I pulled up my RStudio and I looked at my project list, because I actually have 2 similarly named project directories, and I wanted to remember which one was the one that we were working on last week. And I am going to try to keep track of the total amount of time that we spend doing this, keeping in mind that I'm talking to you more than I would be if I were just kind of head down, power down, talking through or walking through this or working through this. But I'd say roughly about 20 minutes in so far in terms of our attempt to build something from scratch. Okay, so tonight we're just gonna kind of power through this and get it done. We're again just get a dashboard that takes a user entered address and then pulls up that address and presents some information about that address. And if we need to simplify it, we can. Honestly, if I were problem solving this on my own, what I would do is I would just drop this 3rd component. So I would just kind of work on the first 2 components, which historically have just been a leaflet map. So a leaflet map where the user has the opportunity to enter an address, and then the map displays the address. And that is where I would go as a problem solve. We'll see what the AI does. I'm not sure what the AI will do. I'm going to try to let the AI do most of the deciding here, because that's kind of the purpose of what we're doing. So I'm going to try to not. Okay, this is probably a good time to talk about philosophy with this, and then we'll get right into it, I promise. I've come to the realization, or I've come to the understanding, my personal understanding, that using AIs to help script these types of tools, you almost need to have an attitude and a perspective, kind of like the modern recommendation for going to a doctor's office. So for me, it's been a real obstacle anytime I need to go to the doctor, because my inclination is, you're the expert, just tell me what's going on. So my preference is just to shut my mouth, not say a single thing. They poke me, they prod me, take blood, whatever they do, and then they say, okay, this is wrong with you, this is what you got to do. That's all I want. That's all I want when I go to the doctor. I don't want to say a single thing. I can say this hurts. That's all I'm willing to say. I don't want to make a suggestion about what to do about it. Just like, this hurts. But that's not the model that modern doctors prefer. So what modern doctors prefer is a more consultative kind of approach, right? They want input from, and I hate it. I hate it so much, but they want input. And so you're part of the process now as a patient. You're supposed to be kind of more proactive and contributing. And I like this and I don't like that. cutting to the chase. I don't like any of it. I don't want to do any of it. So just tell me what I'm supposed to do and I'll do it. Anyway, so the the reason I bring this up is because I've come to the realization now, trying to build a few different things with AI, that AI really needs that consultative kind of approach as well. So I need to give it a little more of what I want. I need to give it a little more direction in terms of, well, no, I was really thinking this, and you need to give it a little more guidance, and you need to actually you need to be willing to interject a little more. So you can't just really lay back and say, hey, give me this. You need more interaction than that. And so that's probably obvious to everyone except for me, who again is coming from this perspective of, all right, you're the expert. Tell me what's going on. So we'll try to be a little more directive, I think, probably tonight in terms of the feedback that we actually give. So let's revisit where we were at here with this thing. So I'm going to go to, again, we're going to try to do this. We're going to try to interact with the AI primarily within the GitHub environment itself. I will pull up our studio where we have a project directory that's connected to the GitHub repository. And there you can, I did it really quickly, but you may have seen that I have two repositories, or I have two project directories that have the same name, which is not good. Not good kind of a not good way to structure your work, but I did it. So here's what we currently have. Here's what we currently have in the project directory itself. If I pull, you'll see that everything is up to date. That means that I do have some stuff that we did here that we were playing with that is ahead of what's available online. So what's available online in terms of my GitHub repository is here. And you can see the last commit was made last week. That was last week's session. There were 4 commits made. They were all actually made by the AI. So it says me, that's JT Kulas, that's me. It says I made those commits. I did not make those commits. I okayed those commits. So those were all suggested, provided, and executed by GitHub Copilot. So the last one, none of these actually worked. So let's actually we'll do a commit of our own because we did make some changes. I first want to verify what's happening with those changes. So let's go in, and there are some instructions here in terms of how to run this. And I don't know that we followed these last week. I do want to set my system set environment in our new session, and this is what connects this is what connects us to the US Census database. I'm going to pull this off screen just for a second so I can put in my my specific API key. And again, I'm not too worried about security or anything like that, but it just seems like it's probably something I should do. Okay, so I did set that. And then in the README, it does say, so we didn't do this. We should just be able to, we should just be able to render this. No, I haven't. The dashboard experience using our Markdown and Quarto, it's so different based on what you're trying to actually do and what package system you're using traditionally. So yeah, we're just getting ghosted here. We're getting nothing. I do remember we did have this issue of echoing when we didn't want echoing. So we do have echo equals false in our code chunk here. But let's go ahead and stop the app. The app seems to be, I don't know if it was fully running or not. It was acting a little weird, but let's go ahead and push this. I'm just gonna push everything that we did, and we'll say local attempt after Copilot suggestions. And then I'm going to go ahead and push that. And then we should see that should be now available to GitHub Copilot on GitHub itself. Now again, I do have GitHub Copilot connected through my IDE through RStudio, but I have that currently kind of suspended. So it's not something that I want to. It's not something that I'm interested in engaging with tonight. So there's our commit that just came through now. Commit message is local attempt after Copilot suggestions. And then let's go back to the interface that we were using. There's a couple of different ways to do this. There's this chatting that you can do with GitHub Copilot up here. I do want it to see what our record of kind of attempts has been. So I'm going to go to Copilot, the main interface with it, and then on the left hand side here I do have kind of a listing, table of contents of things that have already been done. So I'm going to go to our last conversation and I'm going to tell it, let's pick up on this again. I've made some changes and pushed them to the repo. The app is not working. But I have no feedback. But I have no error messages. The app simply seems to be empty. And now I want to try to be efficient with my prompting because I'm going to run out of them. You can see in the bottom left, if you can see in my screen there, it says JT Gulas Copilot free. It says upgrade. And I'm not interested in really upgrading just for this. Again, this is just kind of mostly demonstrative. I'm going to build something eventually, but I don't even know if I'm going to base it off of what we do here tonight, last week and tonight. But I want to be more efficient, so I don't just want to give it feedback that we're going to restart, but I want to say, please revisit the code and all code and provide full files, provide new files that accomplish the desired goals. One, what's number one? User types address. 2, map displays address. You know what? So the doctored consultative model. So let's do this because it really bugs me because this is what I would do. So I think what I want to do that accomplish only the first 2 of the 3 desired goals. Then we can layer on the third. Then we can layer on the third capability once we actually accomplish the first 2. So we'll see if that's a little better. And again, I'm hoping I don't waste. I really don't want to upgrade during the session just for the session. And it's thinking, and probably has to review everything, so it might be thinking a little while. Do we have any? What can we look at while it's thinking here? I don't know if I don't know. Let's see here.
See this balloon, Jen? I'm gonna burst it, but I'm not gonna tell you when. Do you feel stressed, Jen? Jen, look at that. That's your peace of mind. It's gonna go bang. Do you feel stressed now, Jen? Do you? Evidently not.
You know, the other thing I guess I should mention as we're waiting is I have, in my experience, these AIs kind of develop mental sets. So they get stuck in the same pattern of thought and problem solving. And that the way that I've broken that is to leverage multiple AIs against each other. So the two that I've been using most frequently are GitHub Copilot and also Grok. I've actually found Grok to be really helpful for really super helpful for just getting over obstacles of scripting. Just to, as it's still thinking, just even today. Even today, I had to reconfigure, and this was just pure R script. So I had to reconfigure pure R script from a collaborator on a project that he had built in a variable into a function that's not necessary based on the way that I have information structured. And so it was just going to be a complete mess to extract that one variable from the function that he created. And the function had either 2 or 3 variables in it. So I would have to look through the entire script for all references to that. And Grok actually did a great job of just taking that full script, and it was probably a 300-400 line script. Just torched the one variable, and then got rid of it everywhere that it should have been gotten rid of, and it was great. Okay, so, and it made me feel like crap because I'm like, it's great that it got done, but I learned nothing. Like I felt like I felt kind of useless. So I'm like, well, that used to be the thing that I used to do, and it used to take me half a day to do it, but it used to be the thing that I used to do. And now I'm not even learning. So you did it, and it does a good job of saying, this is what I did, and this is why I did it. But I don't know. I don't really read that. I'm just like, okay, let me take it and try it. So maybe I'm just too impatient. Okay, GitHub Copilot says, good, below are 3 ready to paste. Ready to paste. Okay, so this is fine. So again, one of the reasons we're using GitHub Copilot is it has access to your repository where we're keeping everything. It can go ahead and write and change all those things for us, but copying and pasting is fine as well. It's kind of level 1 of using these AIs. Is it does something, you copy it and paste it in and tell it how it works. Good below are 3 ready to paste files that strip the app down to only the first 2 features. They avoid tidy census SF entirely. Those are 2 packages. R packages. So there's less chance of runtime system library failures. I'm just almost wondering if it's okay, I'm not, again, we're not getting much feedback, so I'm not sure what the error is. Put index QMD at the repository root and R helpers in R. I also include a standalone App.R you can run in RStudio to quickly test outside. I like that. Okay, so that's great. We didn't ask for that, but this is getting at exactly what some of my qualms are, or some of my hesitation is with the Quarto dashboard specification versus other ways to generate a dashboard. And historically, the App.R scripting is kind of the specification of a shiny specific app. So I'm glad it actually did that. We did not ask for that, but I'm glad it gave that to us. Now, index.qmd should be duplicated here in my pop-out on the right, which is larger. If I engage with this, well, I think it's supposed to. If I engage with this angled arrow, then I should get a larger version of it, but I think the larger version is already there, so maybe that's why we're getting that. So we're going to replace our index.qmd. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save that. And we'll have to also make sure that we don't have like anything too much extra going on here. So there's also an app, and again, that's going to be a new file for us, but that's okay. I am interested in taking a look at this. So we'll go ahead and save this as App.R. And one of the neat things about RStudio is you'll see that your run button, once this is named, I think it's based on the name of the file, but the reason the app prefix or app file name I believe is important is you'll actually get this kind of different treatment of the run option from within the toolbar if you use that in R. So it now says, instead of run or run code or run command, it now says run app. Okay, what else do we have? So we have index, we have, it says helper functions as well. Do we have a helpers.r? I think we had a helpers.r before. There it is. And I'm guessing that it probably changed that as well. Now why are you doing this to me here thing? So this is one of the things, this is one of the things that I've noticed recently with AIs, and they all seem, or just GitHub Copilot and Grok, they both, not all, they both seem to be doing this, is kind of breaking up the code a little bit, and I think that's probably better for learning in terms of telling you what's going on. But it's actually broken up the main components of an app here that can be a little confusing, especially with these comment lines. Why are you presenting that in a separate code chunk? I don't understand that. And so it looks like it probably, I have no idea what it did. So where is this coming from? Like, I do not know where this is coming from, unless this is just new information that doesn't seem to exist anywhere in either of these two files. So that's confusing to me, and disconcerting, because there is this looks like it's a code chunk, but it's a code chunk. It's an incomplete code chunk that's all commented out. So here's the, oh, I guess I kind of see what's going on. It looks like it wants this in the helpers file, but I really don't like the way that it gave it. I really don't like that, but we'll put it in there. So, and I don't know if it wants us to replace everything, or if, so I'm just going to replace it. So we do have a bit of R script that's located outside of the QMD, located outside of the app itself, and this is a way to kind of source this information that keeps your QMD and your app files kind of cleaner, so just less information in there. And you generally call those out through sourcing. And so look at this, I copied it and it didn't, doggone it thing, you're pissing me off. It didn't give me a closing fence on this code chunk. There's no way this is going to work. But this is the way the sourcing actually works. There's nothing in this index file. Why did it? I'm really not liking this right now. Place index QMD at the repo root, we did, but the index QMD is incomplete. I mean, the app looks fine, but the index QMD is an incomplete code chunk. Why did it do that? There's a 3-tick opening fence. There's no end fence. I'm guessing Is it possible it wants all of this? My God, I don't know what's going on with this. This is a mess. This is no good. So why? Try to download it and see if it's any different. No, it's not different. This is terrible. All right, GitHub Copilot. I'm kind of not happy right now. So we're gonna obviously waste. We're gonna be wasting quite a bit here with this. But it looks like I probably have to. Doggone it. It looks like I'm going to have to copy and paste all of this in. And we're not going to do that because we're trying to make a point here while using AI kind of efficiently. And this is not efficient. So let's read its instructions carefully. And then I'm probably going to ask it just to create a single file for me because this makes no sense. Place index QMD at the repo root. We've done that. And R helpers in R, we've done that. To test quickly outside Quarto, run the app. Yeah, we could try that. I don't know if the app uses that helper function at all, but we'll try running the app just now. Oh, it does. So it does have a source there. So where'd you go, thing? Let's do, what's a fun address? What's Wrigley 41 West Addison or something? So no geocode result. Let's actually look up Wrigley Field. And it's a joke from Blues Brothers. The best movie of all time. The world's best movie. I can't copy the doggone thing. Give me a can you please give me a, there we go. A non-hyperlink. Let's see. I don't know if it needs a specific format. So we're probably going to need to enter that data using a specific format. So let's reload the map, see how it comes in. And it's not locating anyway. So the app isn't working. That's okay. It's okay. We got a map. So the map is displaying okay. Using the app from within Quarto we don't have an index. We got just little bits and pieces of index that are not anywhere near in a format that's easy to use. So I'm sorry, I'm trying to read this. If you still see an empty page, no, we don't see an empty page, but I'm getting no help from the QMD. See this, so this is why it's doing it, I guess. It's saying, would you like me to produce these files as a commit in the repo now? I tested the App.R and it accepts, it presents a map, and it accepts addresses, but it does not display the address. The error, because we are getting an error now, so that's good. The error is, and did I stop the app? Where'd you go, Appy app? I must have stopped it. So we'll go back in and we'll say locate address, and it says no geocode result. That's the error that we actually get. It's kind of a, it's a little hidden at the bottom right of the map. And let's just go with that. So again, to summarize what happened in terms of me getting upset with the way in which it gave us code here is it's trying to explain what it wants to do. It confused me because it says you can go ahead and copy and paste, and below are 3 ready to paste files. No, they're not. And then later it says, would you like me to produce these files? And so the fact that they're incomplete, I guess, is maybe it wanted to help us more than I misread the copy and paste. So I thought it wanted us to do that when it didn't. It wanted us to okay it, and then it was going to create them. Communication. It's essential for any relationship, right? And me and GitHub Copilot, we're on a little bit of a rocky run right now. I think we may need to take a little trial separation. Well, I know I'm going to be forced into a trial separation because GitHub Copilot, in addition to hopefully fixing here's the display on the map, it might actually also say, yeah, you're done for the month. All right, Kulas, you've exceeded your quota. No more soup for you. Now that would be I should get a no soup for you drop, shouldn't I? I think I probably should. This is the one I always play. I almost bought some donuts today. I haven't bought donuts in forever. I was at Aldi, and they had like a Kringle looking thing that looked really good. I don't buy pastries, but I went to Aldi in the morning before I had anything to eat, which is probably not a good idea. But the Kringle-y thing that it had, Kringle something, it's like a big long pastry and it's got fruit or something in the middle. But the thing it had in the middle didn't sound very good. It was like, I don't know, apricot or prune or plum or something. If it was apple, I probably would have gotten it, or blueberry. But there were donuts sitting right next to it. But they were like 12 donuts. And it's just me. I don't have anyone to share donuts with, so I didn't get the donuts. So I wouldn't have gotten slapped by that kitty. Thanks, good progress. No geocode result means the helper returned null. Well, okay, so I mean, that might be the format. We just need to specify the format. Or an error was swallowed. I didn't know errors could be swallowed. You know, GitHub Copilot is using some interesting language. Grok is exceedingly conversational, so it's very forgiving.
What?
Forgiving. It's more forgiving than the Emperor in terms of the way that you communicate with it. So I actually appreciate that. Here are concise diagnostics. We don't want that because we're going to waste our prompts. But quick checks to run in your own R session, test the helper directly and print the raw response. Run these lines in the same R session you use to run the app, so you see the errors immediately. Okay, interesting. And it might just be the string, although the string that we're feeding in, and we'll stop the app. We're still running it, but it's a little long for the console. You can paste this into the console, but I guess I'll just do that. So let's see what we got here. HTTP status 200. I think it mentions something about that. Expected. Yeah, that's what we got. Okay. Try a simpler address string. If the get shows a non-200, the problem is upstream. Okay, so let's try to replace, and I'm actually gonna move that first chunk into a script if we're gonna go back iteratively. By the way, it looks like, I don't know, we might not get this tonight. Sorry, we might not get get this tonight. I'll go later. That's fine. I can sit here a little bit later tonight. I have a little more energy than I had last week, so we'll see how it goes. But it says, okay, we got a 200 on the first one. It wanted that, so it says if you get a 200, go ahead and try maybe a simpler address and see if you still get a 200. And it didn't say directly, but I'm guessing it wants that here on line 44. What? Oh, maybe not. So it looks like that's just that geocensus one must be a command from tidy census. So try a simpler address string. And so we are getting non-200 there, but again, I'm not sure. I don't like the way that I'm using that. We got to look here and see. We got to look here and see if there is a different way to actually put that. So I'm not seeing, and I'm not familiar. Again, I'm not familiar with this function, geocode census one, but I'm not seeing it in this bit of code that it asked us. You know what? I'm guessing that it doesn't want that. I'm guessing it doesn't actually want that function in there. It just wants the address. And again, I don't know. I'm really, maybe I'm just partial to the back and forth with Grok, and I think that's been kind of that's been something that I've kind of appreciated. But the back and forth here is, there's more of a communication issue. So we're still getting the HTTP, and that's coming off of the status line. So I'm going to separate these chunks a little bit. So if we try a different shorter address, we're still getting the same error. So we want to give it that feedback. Washington. So we'll try these, and we're still getting 200. Okay, so to me, it's the AI is telling us that it's probably not the way in which we've structured the address. So we're getting the same 200 error. And more verbose, this is a good idea. So I think we want to put this in our helper function. So geocode census one verbose. Just gonna go ahead and replace what we previously had. And so this should give us better feedback than the address not found that we saw in the app. So I'm gonna go ahead and reload. I can't reload the app now because we have some dangling participles here. So I'm going to take the dangling participles out, and then we will reload the app, and we'll try an address again. We'll see if we get a little more verbose. No geocode result. That's not any more verbose, people. I can tell you that. It just says no result. So that did not help. So this is really interesting. Not knowing, not really knowing tidy census, but the fact that we're asking for this function to be applied and to create this object, those of you that use a lot of R know that when you assign to an object, you don't usually you don't get information about that object, but we immediately got this view res that came up. I did not type that, so that really surprised me. It did come up in our environment, so it is an object. It is a list in there that has 4 different elements. It looks like it's so it's got the okay, so this is very interesting. So we got the coordinates, so it's something on our end in terms of just not being able to take those coordinates as input. So it's not taking the coordinates as input. That is interesting. Okay. Common causes and fixes, network file. So this is awesome because I could take this because I have developed apps using Leaflet before where you enter coordinates, latitude and longitude, and it pulls that up. Leaflet is great at that. So the fact that we have this from the address, that's fantastic. It's just something is not working with just the simple button that we have. So that this should be a not a too bad problem to solve here. So we have 200s. That sounds like it's a good thing. It's not temporarily down. Address formatting doesn't seem to be it. So I'm sorry, I should read through this. If nominatum, what the heck is nominatum? Nominatum, I don't even know him. I'm not gonna nominate him. Or nominate Tim. It says no. Nominate Tim. If you want, I can do one of these next. Let's tell it what we found. Running through your error checks. Everything seems good, except the map is not reflecting the lat and longe that are being extracted, are being properly extracted from the app address. So I think what we also want to say is let's give it this, and I'm going to give it the prompt as well that we gave. So I'm going to go through the error check that it gave us. And you got to be careful with some of these AIs too, because when you hit return, because as a person you want a little visual space there just to make it a little easier to digest. But return means enter on many of these, so you got to be careful. I don't remember if it does on GitHub Copilot or not, but I'm not going to hit enter. So running through your error checks, everything seems good except the map is not reflecting the lat and lon that are being properly extracted from the app address. Here's your feedback. Can you please amend the App.R to recognize and process the extracted lat and long and share that entire script. We'll just try that. So I'm getting fatigued from just trying to be too proper with my grammar. Maybe that'll be a new psychological stress construct that somebody can make millions of dollars. I don't know. There's people making millions of dollars in my field. I'm certainly not one of them. But I think just kind of strain from trying to apply proper grammar. It's probably good for all of us to use better grammar in communication. Maybe we'll all become more formal. I don't know. I always kind of, I don't want to get in trouble. I'm not going to say that. I updated the app to explicitly coerce and validate the return of latitude and longitude, print helpful debug info to the R console, and only update the map when the numeric coordinates are valid. I don't care about that. Copy this file into your project and run it. It uses the existing, okay, so it uses the existing R helpers, so that's good. So we'll try that. Again, this is the kind of mindlessness where there's not a lot of, I don't know, there's not a lot of joy in coding like this, because to do it efficiently, I'm not looking through and understanding everything that's done. I'm just kind of blindly saying, all right, you did something and let's see if it works. My goodness, I can't, I don't teach this stuff anymore. If I did, boy. It's possible that it's locating it. It's just not pulling it. No, it says no result. Check your R console if the map doesn't update. There's nothing in the console. There's nothing in the console. Okay, so we're still not there. But I could take this at this point because I know it's there. So I know that information is there. I know that I can capture it just even through the function that we ran. If we had to force that function into our script and say run this function, extract lat and longe, and then plot lat and longe, like I could do that. I don't know why it can't do that. So if you still do not see the marker after run, and there's no, am I wrong? I'm not seeing, is that, I don't believe that's a marker. So let's do, what was Wrigley Field? (1060) West Addison Street, Chicago, Illinois. So I'm going to try to do it in the same, what is this? I'm going to try to do it, what it gave the zip code is the only thing that's different here. Yeah, it says no result. The only question I had was because the address it's giving by default is the White House, there is this little dot on the default leaflet map that we're actually seeing here. There's one for Ottawa, for the capital of Canada, and there's one for Washington, for the capital of these United States, and there's one for Mexico. Is Mexico City the cap? I didn't know that. How did I not know that? I knew that. Yeah, Mexico City is the capital of Mexico. Just like Wisconsin City is the capital of Wisconsin. Who doesn't know that? Okay, so what's going on here? If you still do not see the marker, paste the output. There's no message, so we get nothing. It just says listening. Confirm our helpers is the same helper. Yeah, it's the same. As fields named lat and lon. Okay, so how do we... So we're going to have to look at the helpers function. And again, this is looking through someone else's script, which is the most annoying thing ever for anyone that's ever done anything with coding, is looking through someone else's script. Because everyone scripts a little differently. Everyone structures things a little differently. At least this one is kind of it's kind of well structured in terms of nesting and indentations and things like that. Lat lon, that looks actually good to me. So just upon quick inspection of what it asked us to look for. So I think lat long are okay. I can also add on screen. Still not. So I want to say that it's still, I shouldn't keep closing the app because we need this feedback that we're getting, even though there's not much to it. We need to say it's still not responsive to the input. Error on bottom right remains no geocode result. Helpers.R fields are ARE lat and lon There is no error. There is no R console message other than, and that this is just the standard app is running kind of message. It says listening on IP address. Let's see what else it wanted. And again, this is not, I mean, hopefully this is somewhat instructive or informative for people if they're thinking about playing with this. I can tell you that this is had many more obstacles than I thought we would get just doing something simple like this. And I'm probably not being as efficient as I should be with kind of the feedback that I'm actually giving it. This might also be something that works better within the IDE itself, but well, I was hoping when we were doing this through GitHub itself, I was hoping to have the GitHub Copilot do more just creating and putting into the repo for us, so we had to do less copying and pasting. The copying and pasting is, as I said, it's kind of a first level AI use with this kind of thing. That's okay. I'm kind of a first level guy, I guess. And it looks like it's giving us a bunch of debug stuff. So it's going to want to give itself some feedback in terms of what's really happening. So yeah, it's a diagnostic that you can run locally. It adds an on-screen debug panel, so you don't have to watch the R console. Validates that the helper was sourced. Okay, we know the helper's being sourced. Do we? Do we know that? I think so. Yeah, because well, maybe not. Okay, so that's a good point. Maybe it's not pulling in the helper function, which again, it's not that long. We could just embed it within the app itself. If this doesn't work, I'm going to tell it just to put the helper function in the app. Yes, tell it, not ask it, tell it. Validates that the helper was sourced. And again, that's something we could kind of figure out ourselves if we just put it in there. Logs every step and tries a fallback. No, there's the nominant. Tim. When the census helper returns null, this will show why the app earlier reported no geocode result, and will update the map when valid coordinates are available. Copy this entire script and run it. After you click locate address, check the debug box at the bottom left for step-by-step messages returned by the helper. And this is a substantial, so there's quite a bit in there. I'll go ahead and copy that, and we'll override our previous App.R. And I do want to take a look here before we just run it to see what it wants us to do. Because again, previously it said copy and paste, and then at the very bottom it says, do you want me to give you a file? What to watch for? Yeah, so this is a good point. So we do want to make sure that the source file is being loaded. Locate button clicked. Okay, so it's going to do a lot of diagnostics. And this is helpful. This is more helpful for a human now, as it's not giving me a wall of text. It's just kind of bullet pointed. Hey, dummy, I'm doing everything right, but you're screwing something up. So try this and only do these bullet points. All right, so cross your collective fingers. Let me see what we got going on here. If we need to clear anything out, I don't think so. I think we're okay with that. So I'm going to run the app. And now here, this is apparently our feedback box. See if I can locate the address. Oh, it worked. Why did it work this time? Oh, it's the fallback. It's the nominatum. Nominatum. That worked. All right, let's see if we can get Wrigley. What is nominatum? I've never heard of this other than, other than the samba song Manamana, which is a fine song. Many people know it through Sesame Street. So it's actually working now. So it's locating just fine, and it's pulling up to the map. That's great, but it looks like it is falling back on the nominatum. So let's I'm really kind of intrigued by this. I don't know what nominatum. I really want to see what nominatum is, but I know we're a little short on time, so I'm gonna I'll do that later. But let's give it this feedback. And I think it also wanted this probably. So let's see if I can. No, this doesn't look that easy to actually copy. Oh, it's not bad. All right, so I'm going to give it both. So we'll say feedback. What does it call it? Feedback panel? Feedback. Sorry, I can't find it now. But it wants debug panel. I'm sorry. Debug panel. Debug panel. Console. R console. Okay. So I don't know. I really don't know what nominatum is. Let's see. Geocoding software that powers the official. I have literally never heard of this. But I'll be looking into it in the interceding week for sure. So it looks like that might be. It looks like it maybe just two different approaches to accessing what we're trying to access here in terms of kind of helper packages or helper capabilities with helper functions. Now I don't know. Did we load a nominatum? I gotta figure out how to say that because I'm sure I'm butchering it. But did we load a package that enabled that? I see leaflet, and we assume leaflet was there. HTTR. I don't see anything specifically for that. So maybe that's just a different kind of approach. Maybe it's a different way of accessing this. Doesn't look like it's a package. Good Hey, GitHub Copilot's being polite. It says thanks. Debug shows the census helper repeatedly return null while nominatum field fallback succeeded. But when you ran the helper interactively earlier, it returned coordinates. That suggests this helper sometimes fails when called from the Shiny session, or the running app is still using an older, inconsistent helper version. Remember to restart the R session after editing helpers. We didn't do that, so maybe that's why the feedback we weren't getting it. To make the app robust and give clear in-UI diagnostics from the helper, do 2 quick edits. Okay, so if you're all patient, you can bear with me a little bit longer. I'm going to keep doing this for a little bit because we have it at a point right now, at least in the app, where it's useful as something to build on. So we can take this, and I think we'll do one more week and see if we can connect the US Census data to this so we pull up some information about the location. So for example, it can say what the price of a hot dog is at Wrigley Field or the White House. How much do you think a hot dog is at the White House? I'm guessing they're free because I don't know. It just kind of seems like something that would be done at the White House. Replace geocode census 1 with a version that never silent returns null. It's going to do allowed null instead. Okay, we can do that. So it wants us to replace the helpers. And that is done. And we'll remember to restart this time so it actually pulls that fresh. I should have, okay, so that's a longer helper file. So to me, that is a little more justified in terms of sourcing it from within a different file. Update the app to check the helper's status field. So the UI debug panel shows exactly what happened. Replace the geocode call handling in your App.R with this logic. Okay, so we're gonna have to look for that. Why don't we just use nom and atom? Like, to me, that's fine. I don't care what we use. God, helper fallback. So I think this is what it's talking about right here. Let me double check because it wants us to kind of be selective here. So update the app to check the helper status field. Replace the geocode call handling inside the observe event for the locate button. Okay. So where's the observe event for the locate button? Should be on the server side here. Here we go. Observe event, locate button, if check helper function exists. Sorry, I kind of lost my place here. Update the app to check the helper function status inside the observe event for the locate button with this logic. Replace the geocode call handling. Sorry, I'm being kind of quiet here, but I'm looking and trying to figure out which bit of this. It's a thick bit of code right here. I'm gonna have to tell it. I'm gonna tell it. Why don't we just go with nom and ah? Or is this the whole thing right here? God, why does it keep doing that? It says replace, and then later on it gives me the full thing. Like, this is what I want right here. I'm just gonna do it. Oh geez. Oh geez. It's a Minnesota way of saying I don't know what's going on. So I'm going to save this and we're going to exit because we have new helper functions. And then I think I'm also just going to tell it, and we'll give it some feedback, but I'm also going to tell it, let's just go with what's wrong with going with the fallback. I mean, the fallback looks to me like it's working fairly reliably. So why don't we just do that? Huh? Mr. AI, think you're so smart? Why don't we just go ahead and do that? Okay, so I'm going to go to the new app. I think I have what they wanted updated. We'll run it. Locate an address. There it is. And it looks to me like everything's working just fine. It looks like it. I don't know if this feedback we're getting is hardwired in, or if that's interactive or dynamic. It, generally speaking, in that location, it's not dynamic. That's just kind of there. It's text. But I didn't see if that changed at all after we did what we did. So let Let's give it some feedback here in terms of what we're seeing. And then we do have some information in the console as well. It looks like, it looks to me like it worked. Okay, it didn't fail that time. So it looks like the primary worked, and I'm like, why did it work that time? It wasn't working before. So what changed? So I'm going to ask it what changed as well. What changed? Looks like the primary worked that time. I'll give it the feedback. And I'm kind of ignoring it is now offering me the opportunity to, instead of me copying and pasting, it's saying, do you want me to go ahead and do this? And so I'll do that the next time. Here's exactly what's changed and why that fixed the issue. See, the way that it talks about code is so different from how I think about code. It wrote the function to be more defensive and deterministic. When I write code, it works or it doesn't work, but I'm a psychologist, so I'm not a software person. I know a few computer languages, but not many. and none that are relevant. So basic, Fortran, COBOL. Don't laugh. You're laughing. Quit laughing. Uses a polite. Come on. So defensive and deterministic are one thing, but to say you're being polite, just what's going on here? These computers, they are going to take over and kill us all if we're not polite enough. They're talking about being polite with each other at this point. My goodness, I should not have asked it why it works. You want to know why it worked? Well, we parsed the JSON robustly with text going into JSON to avoid parse issues and oh, thank you. Thank you. That makes it all very clear. This is why I just skip this stuff. I'm like, I don't know. I just figure you're smarter than me at this point, so you know what you're doing. I shouldn't have wasted a prompt asking why. It's just ridiculous. Like, I should have said, explain why, like I'm 3 years old. Then maybe this would be useful. Okay. So, so we're 1:20 in. So let's do one more session on this, unless someone is watching and saying I can't handle anymore. But I think we now, at this point, we have an app that does 2/3 of what we want it to do, and not only that, but it sounds like it's built more robustly than how I would have built it. Now, we haven't tried things like partial addresses, and what if I just give it Chicago, Illinois? Then it just disappears. So we busted it. We broke it. So there are things that we're going to have to do with it, and eventually I want to port this over to a Quarto dashboard instead of just a Shiny app. Now, a Shiny app, in my opinion, that's a form of dashboard, but they're not usually referenced in that manner. So, okay, so we will take what we have this week, consider it a success, and then next week we'll see if we can layer on the last piece, which will be connecting US Census database to pull information that's reflective of that spot. Okay, so this is not where I thought we would go tonight, but again, we're directed by AI. I did not think we would, as kind of a parallel process, test out what we're doing within an App.R file. I'm comfortable here. I'm comfortable doing that because I've done several of these. Even if I don't fully understand the background scripting that's being done, the general structure of it I'm familiar with and comfortable with. And so I think this is a good way to actually establish capabilities before we port those capabilities over to a more polished kind of looking fancy dashboard. All right, so next week we'll see if we can finally finish this guy off. All right, thanks everybody. Good night.